Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It is Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October, and somebody sent you this video because they think you need to learn about securing your files. Now, it's not because you did anything wrong. It's just we all need a refresher every now and then. And I am joined by security expert Fred Langston. We both work at Critical Insight, but he's a security expert and, well, I'm not. So, Fred, securely sharing your files, securing your files, how does one do that?
Yeah. So first thing you want to determine, of course, is which files are the ones you want to keep secure, because not everything has a high value. A lot of the stuff we have is just, information like a menu or something like that, right? So we want to make sure we understand which files need to be secured and which don't. And once we know what those are, we want to store them in a secure location. So we all know that we store files in folders on our workstations and our laptops. You can set permissions on both the file folder you put it in and the file itself. And I'll tell you how to do those. So if we want to think about the file, okay, that's the thing we want to protect. We can go in, we can click on that file, right click on that file, and it will give you a list of tabs, right? And then up at the top, you'll notice there is a sharing tab and a security tab. So if you click on either of those, you will see a list of users. And that list of users will have if it's your file, and it will probably have administrators potentially, might have users, which is everybody who's a user at your company. And it may have other things like everyone. So you can literally say, I want nothing to prevent people from seeing this file, and you give it the everyone permission. But what you want to do is whittle that list down till it's the only left with the people that you want to have access. If you're the only person you want to see that file, your username should be the only one left in that list. Everything else can be removed. Keep in mind that administrators, which are all powerful users, can always see anything on a system. So we'll talk about how to protect it even from them in a minute when we talk about encryption. But if you want to keep it secure from other users, other people on the network, you just whittle down that list to yourself. If you want it to a larger group, you can put 3 or 4 users' names in there. You can also use a group. If you have a group, your work group at work, and it's called Work Group A, for example, you could put the group Work Group A in there if that's part of your directory structure, and it'll be shared with just those people in your work group. If you put users, it's going to be everybody. If you put everyone will be able to see that file. So the same concept applies when you get to the folder, right? You right click on a folder, it will have the very similar tab, security tab at the top. You click on that and it's the same thing. You will basically say, here's the list of people I want to access things in this folder. Now there's a little click box or check box you can click that says use inheritable permissions. What that means, if I click that box, anytime I put a file in that folder, it will automatically get the permissions that I've set on the folder. So that's a really good way. You don't have to go in and set it on the file. Just put it in that folder and it will inherit those permissions from the folder that say only
Now,
these.
what if the file lives in 2 places on my computer? If I have a copy of it, for instance, the one that's in that folder will have those, but the one that's outside won't, right?
Correct. So here's the thing is, if you're moving that particular file around, those permissions will move with it, right? And if you put it into another folder that says change those permissions, right, it inherits new permissions. It can change
Got
it.
it.
So that's why we really want to be very cognizant of the folders we're storing these things in, because it does affect the security of those files in there.
And this works for both Windows and Mac, or
It,
is this
it
just
works for
Windows?
every file system that exists. Now it's a little bit trickier to do, usually in like a Linux system. You probably above what I would explain here, how you set permissions on those files, but there are tools that can help you to do it visually, through a user interface that make it just the same as Windows or a Mac.
So let's say I've gone through and I take all of my financial documents or proprietary documents and I set permissions on them. And then I accidentally leave my laptop at a coffee shop and
Yeah.
somebody takes it. do could somebody still get into those files?
So that's a great question. So if you have no encryption, you're not using BitLocker, you're not putting any kind of encryption, the answer is yes. Anybody that physically can get access to your computer, they'll pull the disk out, they'll plug it into their computer, and that allows them, because they're administrators, right? Remember I said they're all powerful. Well, they can override those permissions and see what's on there. So you have to think about encrypting that data. Now, the easiest and most transparent way is let's encrypt the disk, right? BitLocker on Windows. If you enable that, it will encrypt your whole hard disk. That means if it's stolen, nobody can see what's on that disk. Okay, it's totally protected.
So even if somebody takes the disk out, if there's BitLocker or something like it, they
Yes,
can't get access. Okay.
correct. Now, let's say that maybe you want to protect it from an administrative user on your network, right? There's somebody you don't want to see it. You know they have all powerful permissions. They're not a bad person, but we just want to make sure it's protected, right? We can encrypt that file on the disk itself. So there are tools you can go out, dozens of them that do file-based encryption. Some are open source, some you can buy. And basically it's kind of a point and shoot. You say, point at that file, say, I want to encrypt that file. It will encrypt it, and it will store that file in an encrypted form, which is kind of useful because if I want to transfer that over the internet to somebody else I can share my encryption key with, then I don't need to worry about what's happening in transmission. I've already secured that. It's going to be secure no matter where it goes. But the problem is at the other end, when somebody wants to use it, they need to have a way to decrypt that. And it usually means having a decryption key and a tool that will allow you to do the decryption. So there are challenges when you're doing file-based encryption. So one of the stopgaps is let's encrypt it while it's moving over the network. So we're going to encrypt the network connection, not the file, but the network connection. And that's what happens when we're using our browsers and we go to our bank and we're moving bank statements up and down. We're sending that over an encrypted tunnel.
That's what that little lock, yeah,
right,
on the corner of the browser. Yep.
Right. So that's building in encryption for you at the transmission, at the transportation layer for moving these. So each one of these, we could talk about the disk, perfect when somebody steals your laptop, they can't get to it. We could talk about encrypting the file because we want to make sure that no one can see this. Or we can think about, let's just make sure nobody snooping on the network can watch it as it goes by and grab it off the wire because they can sniff stuff off the wire, just like wiretapping a phone. And if it's encrypted, just like a wiretap phone, secure phone line, you can't hear what they're saying, right? It's been encrypted in transportation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Fred, thank you very much. Anyone, if you have questions about this, shoot me an email, jake@criticalinsight.com. That's jake@criticalinsight.com. We hope you're having a good Cybersecurity Awareness Month. My secure bat phone is ringing. I got to go get it. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.